Damien, we're here.
What are you doing? You know he's not here.
True, but if he was here, this would be a good way for him to know that we're not going through all his stuff.
Ah, clever.
Yep, but since he isn't here...
Ooh.
Time to watch some Netflix.
What are you gonna put on?
Well, Tiff, I was thinking about putting on that Oscar documentary.
Oscars? Jan, what is up with you and the Oscars?
I don't know, there's just something about the celebration of film that I love to watch.
That's not true. It's not a celebration of film. It's a bunch of rich old white guys giving awards to people who pay them money.
Okay, well, I mean, that technically might be true,
And,
but...
you know, aren't movies art? Isn't art supposed to be subjective? Why are there competitions?
Okay, I get it, you're right. I don't know, there's just something about awards that attract me to them, especially when they deal with things that I love. And I mean, since I'll never win an Oscar, I have to distract myself by being pretentious and snooty and pretending to be better than everyone else. Also drugs.
Jan, that's so sad. You're a terrible person.
Tell me about it.
Damien! Tiff, I think Damien's the bad guy in this show. You can tell by the creepy music and the lightning strikes.
He's so evil.
Guys, I'm right here. I can hear everything you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, eating my snacks, drinking my drinks. That's cool. That's cool. But you know what else is cool? If you do not pick up my stuff, put it back, buy me a new set of snacks, I'm gonna kill you.
That seems a little harsh.
I've killed for less.
Oh.
It's like, as you get. Hello? Yeah, oh, 1 second. Alright, so I have a very important phone call right now, and I want you guys to clean up my shit and get out. Alright, so I'll be back in like 5 minutes. You're gonna be gone. Yeah, cool. Alright, cool. Okay.
Man, what a jerk.
Yeah, I know. It's almost as if he doesn't want us to break into his house, eat all of his food, and go through his stuff.
Or shit in his shoe.
What?
What?
I guess we should start cleaning this place up.
No, Tiff, I have a better idea. I'm gonna start a YouTube channel that deals with every single film that ever won Best Picture at the Oscars.
Okay, you do that, and I'm outie.
Wait. I need a co-host. Someone beautiful, smart, someone who can hold their own against me when it comes to movies and argue with me when they don't agree. Tiff,
All right.
do you know anyone like that?
Seriously,
What's the problem? What's going on?
you're looking right at her.
Looking right, I don't understand. Ah, you're right, Tiff. Charlize Theron. She is one of the most attractive people in Hollywood right now.
Well, I'm out.
Wait. I need a temporary guest host. There's no way I can kidnap Charlize Theron and make her do my bidding in such a short amount of time. Tiff, I need your help.
Fine.
Yes!
But you owe me.
Oh, okay. I'll get you an Xbox One later.
Really?
I know someone who has one just lying around.
Okay then. Well, what movie do you want to watch?
Want to go through Damien's stuff?
Sure. Oh. What about Silence of the Lambs?
I was actually hoping to save that for maybe a Halloween episode down the line.
Fair.
Oh! How about Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King?
I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of people are gonna probably wait for you to put up that review and then stop watching right afterwards. You don't want to peak too early.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Oh, what about Shakespeare in Love?
Sorry, Tiff, but you know we don't talk about that film here.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
As long as you understand. Oh, Annie Hall. Yeah, it's not too old, it's not too new. Falls right about the middle of the Oscars.
Why does Damien even own that kind of movie?
Plot device?
Works for me.
A relationship, I think, is like a shark. You know, it has to constantly move forward or it dies. And I think what we got on our hands is a dead shark.
Annie Hall is the 50th film to ever win Best Picture at the Oscars. It follows Avi, who is played by Woody Allen, as he tells the story of how he and titular character Annie Hall came to know each other and the highs and lows of their relationship. Alrighty, so I like to kind of turn it to my guest host at this point in time. What did you think of Annie Hall?
I could tell it was trying to be a cute love story, but I just kept thinking, like, I saw how the characters interacted with each other. Maybe just because this is a pretty old film, considering nowadays it was made in the 70s. So it's, you know, it's going almost on, what, 50? It's in its 40 years at least.
Well, the Oscars are in its 90th year, and it's the 50th film to ever win, so just about 50 years, yeah.
So, so it's a little outdated, so it's where a lot of attitudes lie, but the main character was just such a douchebag. Oh my god, I couldn't stand him. He was a whiny little puke who thought he was just too good, and I don't know, it's just...
Yeah, that's my main problem with the film as well. Avi is not a likable character. And that doesn't mean he doesn't have funny things to say from time to time. There are some good jokes, I think, thrown in there. But he's just too much. He's very crude when it comes to women. He doesn't know how to hold back. He doesn't sacrifice anything. It's basically, it's got to be his way, and if it's not his way, then it's kind of like it doesn't fly.
That's what really got to me, is that not that he's a particularly bad person or character, it's just that he puts so little effort in, and he is very crude, so it does take a lot to deal with him and the kind of characteristics he has. And yet, most of the women in this film are kind of like, oh, he's so cute. They throw themselves at him when he has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. It just really bothers me.
I actually have a counter argument, because that was one of the things I was actually going to mention, that it's, especially when Annie Hall and him meet for the very first time, you could tell that she's just fallen in love with him. Yeah, it's a very cute, awkward moment after the tennis court. But at the same time, I'm looking at Woody Allen, and I'm like, okay, no offense to Mr. Woody Allen, but is that really love at first sight type of person? He seems like more like the I got to get to know you before I date you type of person. But to counter argue that, who's telling the story? Like Woody Allen's character is, right? And I'm sure we've all come across this before. when we're kind of telling a story, we tend to kind of like bend the truth a bit. And if the movie is being told completely from his perspective, he could be stretching the truth in those moments. Like, yeah, this girl was really into me this entire time. She was just hopelessly in love, a bit of an idiot, but it was cute in a way. So is the movie that smart that that's what you're supposed to get out of it? Probably. I think the writing is actually pretty good. Like, the writing is very interesting. As you said, a bit outdated now, but I think it could very well be plausible that might be what Woody Allen as the director intentioned.
Well, I don't doubt that. Well, even intentional or not, his perspective does make a huge difference on the film, but I feel like that makes his character even more unlikable, because not only does he, like, not only is he a very unlikable person, but he only sees people's admiration for him, like, at first. And then he just overextends it, and I don't like that. Like, realistically, people wouldn't have found him, people would not have found him cute. And he does not have an outgoing personality. He's cranky, he's mean, he makes rude and sarcastic comments, constantly making misogynistic remarks. Honestly, I feel like, I mean, he does have a couple witty lines, but I don't feel like he ever really uses them that much, except with the main character once they're already deep into their relationship. I don't see how she would have been attracted to him at first. And going on that, the more the relationship went on, the more I thought it was just a very toxic relationship. I found it less and less cute and more, why are these people still together? They're being miserable together, and I wanted it to end. I wanted it to end as much as they wanted it to end. The only difference was that when they wanted to get back to, when Woody wanted, or Alvy, sorry, wanted to get back together with Annie, I was just like, no, just end it.
Woody Allen.
I love what you're wearing.
Oh, you do? Yeah? Oh, well, this tie is a present from Grammy Hall.
Who? Grammy Hall?
Yeah, my Grammy.
What are you kidding? What'd you do, grow up in a Norman Rockwell painting?
To be honest, yeah, the relationship is really bad. Looking at it as a whole, as a relationship, though, I think, and we talked about this a little bit beforehand while watching the film, you didn't think it really showed what an actual relationship was like. And I think, like, to a degree, I think it does. Like, I think, not word for word, or not like, not mirror an exact relationship, but I think the highs and the lows, like the breaking off point, when somebody's not certain about the other person, they kind of kind of break away. And there's all these, that's why I think the writing is really clever, because there's moments where, like, they're having sex, and it shows, like, her kind of, like, leaving the moment and, like, sitting down. She's not in it, even though she is having sex with him. Her mind is somewhere else. And I think those are very little clever twists, and I think it captures a relationship very interestingly in that set. Now, it doesn't capture it one-on-one, obviously, but I think as a whole, like, going through these highs and lows, I think it's very smart with how it depicted the relationship like that. Though in the end, as you said, the relationship's toxic. It's not gonna work. Amy's too much of an asshole.
It wasn't just that, and I never said it was an unrealistic relationship. I just said it was an unhealthy relationship. It wasn't the kind of relationship that, I mean, maybe at its best point was okay, but once it got to its bad, didn't even seem like a normal, like, fight. Well, it did seem normal, but it didn't seem healthy at that point. It didn't seem like going through a rough patch. It seemed like, you know, that one person wanted to move on, but the other one didn't, and then the other person wanted to move on, but they didn't want to, like, let the other person down, so it just turned into this kind of really depressing bad atmosphere of a relationship, and it's just it's not good.
So it doesn't work it just had a really bad relationship status, but I mean, looking at the story and the characters, do you think the writing was good? Because it did win a couple of awards in the Oscar season, since this is like an Oscar talk. It won Best Writing, it won Best Picture, obviously, it won Best Directing, and it won Best Actress. In those categories, do you think the film deliver in some of those aspects?
Well, I think a lot of the writing was pretty good. It was witty at points. Even though I hated the main character, not Annie, Elvie, but even though I hated him, and I didn't particularly think that their relationship was cute, which I thought they were trying to go for at first, or overall. But it did seem very like a very realistic scenario, and how people would handle it, how those type of people would handle it. And the only thing that I didn't like about it was that sometimes it almost felt like it went off on tangents, and I know maybe it was just telling it, and no, it kept jumping back and forth chronologically, but sometimes I felt like the movie wasn't even about the relationship. It was about Elvie trying to like adjust to his life, which I guess influenced the relationship, but I don't know, it made it feel like the movie went off on separate tangents, which made it feel longer, which made it feel boring.
And it's funny because it's actually one of the shortest Oscar winners. I think second only to Marty, which is really, really short.
Diane Keaton.
You don't want me to live with you.
I don't want you to live with me. Whose idea was it?
Mine.
Yeah.
It was yours, actually, but I approved it immediately.
Tony Roberts.
The one with the VPL,
VPL.
visible panty line.
Yeah, she's a 10 max, and that's great for you because you're used to 2s, aren't you?
So you said it was so boring that it felt like an eternity.
I fell asleep in the middle of the movie.
Don't say that. This is like they're gonna be like, why are you reviewing the film? No.
I woke up a minute later.
Oh my god. What did you think of Annie Hall, played by Diane Keaton?
I thought she was a pretty good character. I thought she was extremely adorable, how awkward she was. Although her awkwardness was very cringy at times.
It's weird because there's a fine line between, oh, it's adorable how awkward it is, but then like you can easily cross into the, oof, too awkward. But I think she hits the perfect balance of the right amount of ditzy, which leads to her character being really cute.
Yeah.
So it works.
And the only times like it got cringy, it wasn't uncomfortable cringy, it was just funny cringy, which it's a comedy at points. So it helped. It helped.
Carol Kane.
What's your name?
Allison?
You're like New York Jewish left-wing liberal intellectual, Central Park West, Brandeis University with the socialist summer camps, and the father with the Ben Shahn drawings, right? And the really, strike-oriented kind of... stop me before I make a complete imbecile of myself.
No, that was wonderful. I love being reduced to a cultural stereotype.
All right. So, I mean, talking about it as an Oscar film, and I don't want to say who definitely deserved to win that year or not, because I haven't seen every single film that was nominated that year. There were a bunch of others. There was The Turning Point, there was The Goodbye Girl, and there was one other that I always forget. But, and we talked about this beforehand, this was the year that the very first Star Wars film was nominated. And it's funny to kind of go back now and see how big these movies are. And Star Wars is, it's gigantic. And how many people really know what Annie Hall is? So, I mean, in this regard, what do you think? What are your takes on this? Is it like, man, Star Wars definitely should have won that year, or?
Well, the Oscars has a very fine line. They have a very set list of things they want from what they consider the best, and that isn't always what stands the test of time and isn't always what the fans agree with. And, you know, we were talking about this earlier. Movies are a form of art, and art is very subjective. So you might have one that is so moving and deep and get you thinking, but it's not enough to hold the public's interest. And then you have one that seems kind of more eccentric and silly, but you know what? It really, really touches a lot of people, and so they remember it and it becomes a cult classic, or just a classic in general. So that's the problem I have with, I mean, these award shows are great and all, but the fact that people take these as like their lifetime career goals is a little ridiculous, because you can leave a huge legacy without ever winning one of these awards, and you can leave practically no legacy when you win some of these awards. It just kind of depends on the film you make and how many people it influences.
And yeah, this is like the perfect example of that. Like, as I was saying, everybody knows what Star Wars is. How many people really know what Annie Hall is? And probably people know what Annie Hall is because it won the Oscars. So it probably wouldn't be as remembered if not for that.
Paul Simon.
We're going to meet Jack and Angelica and have a drink there, and if you'd like to come, we'd love to have you. We can just sit and talk, nothing. Not a big deal. It's just relax, just be very mellow.
I don't respond well to mellow. You know what I mean? I have a tendency to, if I get too mellow, I ripen and then rot.
Shelley Duvall.
I was at the Stones concert in Altamont when they killed that guy, remember?
Yeah, were you? I was at an Alice Cooper thing where 6 people were rushed to the hospital with bad vibes.
So, last thing I'd like to kind of leave this note on is looking at the movie and when it was made, and looking at our culture today now, would you recommend this film to audiences now?
No. I just felt like it was funny and witty at times, but it was just way too much blabbering for how much talking they did. Most of it was just to talk, to fill the empty air. And it did go off on a few tangents, and it wasn't a particularly moving or cute or funny. It was not really a lot of anything, so I would give it a pass.
I probably would as well. And this is like my 4th, 5th time watching the film, and I remember enjoying it a lot, like the first time I saw it. But I think like every subsequent viewing that I've done afterwards, it's just kind of like my enjoyment of the film keeps dropping every single time. And I think this last time that we finally saw it, I was just like, I started seeing the flaws in the film a bit more. So I can't fully recommend it, especially to audiences nowadays. Maybe, you know, if you were, maybe the older audiences might enjoy it, but that's kind of like the time that they were kids this movie came out. So yeah, it's definitely not one that I would say must watch. But to me, you know, it's still not like a bad film. It's still enjoyable. And one of the few Oscar winners that is a romantic comedy. There's actually not that many that have won or been nominated in the past. So it's interesting to see like different genres actually break out. And especially this one that honestly, like going into the Golden Globes, like Golden Globes are always like kind of like a good telltale sign of what's going to get nominated at the Oscars. This is actually one of those films that didn't get any Best Picture nomination at the Golden Globes. It only got one nomination for Diane Keaton as Annie Hall. So it was interesting, just kind of like all of a sudden the Oscars came and it just like took home a bunch of awards, including Best Picture. And that's pretty much about it. Although you...
I have a feeling it's because a lot of those really old, rich, white Oscar, the voters could really identify with the shitbag main character.
You don't like Woody Allen.
I don't like Alvy, and I absolutely despise Woody Allen. He's a sick pedophile freak.
Well then, Annie Hall, everybody.
Annie Hall.
Get your tickets now.
Janet Margolin. Colleen Dewhurst. Christopher Walken in the new Woody Allen film,
Were you always funny?
Hey, what is this, an interview? We're supposed to be making love.
Annie Hall.
No, that was the most fun I've ever had without laughing.
Annie Hall.
Whew, that was a long phone call. So long, in fact, that you can go through all my shit, watch a movie, and make a video out of it. Oh, and you did! What are the odds of that? Well, guess what?
Well,
Like I'm chasing, like, why would I do that? I mean, yeah, they're a pain in the ass and all, but sometimes they can be cool on some level. They don't give me heart. You know what? That's cool. They're dead.